Hi all you cave dwellers and welcome to the Cavern Podcast. The Cavern Club, the most famous club in the world. From the Beatles and the Stones to the Arctic Monkeys and Adele. Join us on our podcast for Cavern Conversations. Each episode we talk to a special guest with real Cavern connections. Welcome to the Cavern Podcast. Welcome to the Cavern Podcast. I'm your host, Jon Keats, and you are listening to Series 1, Episode 8. Now, the word legend, as we know, is often overused, but today's guest is an absolute Cavern legend, a Liverpool legend, and has been a mainstay and champion of the local music scene for 60 years. Former Cavern Club DJ in the 60s, lead singer of one of Merseybeat's forgotten bands, broadcaster with BBC Radio Merseyside and now Liverpool Live Radio, all of which is hugely ironic, as I've just discovered he wasn't even born in Liverpool. However, it is of course my great pleasure to welcome a good friend to the Cavern Podcast, Mr. Billy Butler. Should we clear up this? Well, I didn't know you were born in Wales.
Yeah, my mum was evacuated, and I was with her at the time, of course. And
okay, so
she was pregnant, and she was evacuated to Amlook.
But yeah, no, well, that's okay. So you were a Liverpool family, and that was with the evacuation.
We were only there for, I think it was 8 months. We stayed in Salem Street, on a farm, apparently, with about 20 other evacuees, apparently.
So do you regard yourself as being Welsh, Bill? That's the big question.
Not really, no.
Not really.
I have had, amongst the few insulting letters I've had when I was on the radio, I have had one or two people saying, back to Wales, you Welsh get.
That's not nice, is it? It could have been worse. Anyway, welcome to the Cavern Podcast.
Well, Lemmy was born in Amlook as well.
Okay. So it's good company. Massively connected with the Cavern Club, which we're going to get into. To go right back, what got you into this ridiculous business in the first place?
Well, I worked in town, so that's when I first started going to the Cavern. But that was just as somebody who just liked the music and the bands who were down there. I worked in India Buildings, so it was only a short walk down there to the Cavern.
For people who are listening, because as you know, the Cavern today, people are coming in there from all over the world. It's a place of pilgrimage. And because we still gig on that front stage, I still play on it, and I see the faces of people when they come down the stairs, they turn left and they see that iconic stage that they've only ever really seen in that black and white footage of some of the guys.
Oh, they see the iconic tunnels. It's the tunnels.
It's that vision. But so that's what they see now, and that's still, the minute we lose what that means to people travelling all over the world. But what was it like really to actually be in there in the thick of it then?
Well, the difference was because we'd been the Empire possibly to see some of the names and all that, but it was a totally different thing. You go to the Cavern, the doorman were always friendly, you'd have a chat with them, you go down all those steps, hoping to God you never slipped.
Yeah.
You pay at the bottom, just an ordinary desk. It's an ordinary desk, you give your money into the guy there. But the thing that you heard all the way down the stairs was the band. Depending on who was on. So the music hit you straight away.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fading on. It hit you, the music, straight away.
So even though, and this is the interesting thing, now we've got like PA systems which can do everything and all that. It's so primitive then.
To us, it was loud.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they squeezed every bit of life out of those amps and those speakers.
To us, it was loud. You get in, you go there most times not knowing who was on. If the Beatles were on, you go especially for them, but this is in 61, and so you went anyway because it was the Cavern, and you get our blackcurrant juice, orange juice, hamburger, hot dog, and then if you could get a seat in that row, you would.
Yeah, right. Those famous chairs,
those chairs in the middle. Yeah, usually the girls were there first.
Yeah, Well, most of those pictures,
and I needed a chair because I wasn't a dancer.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But most of those photos, you can see it's mainly girls, isn't it? Yeah. With a few lads, just But what a time to be there, and that's what everybody who got it, who was there, and they got it, and became their club. That must have been such a special time.
But you didn't think so, John, at the time.
Again,
you didn't
hindsight.
say to yourself, you're probably into a football match, and you thought, and then 10 years later, people say, what a match that was, and to you, it was just another match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You just go, and that was where you were in your life, and you just, it's all back to hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, when I was DJ there, it was great, because they'd knock on the door, you'd open the door, hello, Billy, so you became a name then, as well as a cave dweller, as it was, and it was so exciting, it just really was, and there was no bar there. We were scared to go over to the White Star in case Ray McFall found out you'd left the dressing room. I actually, how, I don't know, but I actually had a bottle of brown ale. And Gene Vincent said to me in the band room, "Sir," he said, "Sir, where could you buy your bottle of beer?" I said, "We don't sell drink, Gene, but you can have this."
Oh,
and he went, "Well, thank you very much, sir."
See, even that is just like bizarre to think that I know, because we know our Cavern history. No bar. The first thing that when bands play now, the first thing is like, what's on the rider? What particular, it's expected. There's got to be drinks in it. It's rock and roll. And yet here they are, black currant juice and a hot dog if you're lucky. Here Stevie Wonder.
Have a burger. People say like the Hollies, Hayman's, Hermits, all them, all had to carry their gear down those stairs, and all had to carry it into that little band room.
Yeah.
I can never remember anybody complaining or anything like that.
No, I remember,
and they all stuck to the time. You're on at 6:30, you're on at 7:30. They tear up for it.
But that's again, they're all young bands, aren't they? And they're trying to make it. That's what young bands would do today. Yeah. To go right back, what got you into this ridiculous business in the first place?
But I got started in the business, you could say, because I used to get the disc and the NME every week. Because Melody Maker was a jazz paper as far as I was concerned.
You went into jazz, no?
And I couldn't afford 3 papers, so I didn't get the record mirror till later. And there was an advert in saying that there's a new television programme starting called Thank You Lucky Stars. And on the programme, they're going to have a panel of teenagers. And would you like to have an audition? So I wrote away, and I got an audition in Manchester. I think it was in the November, I think. And the programme started in the January.
So what's this, 62, 63, is it?
62, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
62. And so I did the audition, and then when the show started in early 62, I was watching it and seeing all these they had different panel members every week. And I used to watch it and say, I was better than him, or I was better than her. There was 2 fellas and a girl on, you see. And then I got the call to go up to the studios in Birmingham, the Alpha Studios in Birmingham. And we used to go do it of a Sunday afternoon. I'd get there Sunday afternoon at 12. We'd record the programme at 7 o'clock at night in front of an audience. And it would go out the next Saturday. And on our run-through, they play 3 different records and we'd make comments on it. And then on the live show, they played the records that were going out the next week. And after I'd done it, Philip Jones, who was the producer, said to me, that was quite impressive. Would you like to do it again? And I thought to myself, God, 2 appearances on television, that's incredible.
Superstar. So
2 weeks after, I was on it again. And then I was on it for 18 weeks. But I never used to know when I finished doing it Sunday whether I was on the next week. I got a letter on the Tuesday saying you're on again Sunday. And that's how it went on. And amongst those 18 weeks were 2 all Merseyside shows as well.
Well, I knew you did Thank You Lucky Stars, but I thought that was after the Cavern, but it's clearly not. That was, but were you going the Cavern at that time?
I was going the Cavern at that time, yeah. But I mean, I didn't know Bob all that well.
Right, okay.
It was only because people becoming aware of me because of the telly.
Yeah, but I've seen clips of it, and you were a cheeky chappy, weren't you?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you went on and stole it and got 18 weeks.
That's it. I took on a big comb once, and people never forgot that.
Yeah,
combed me hair with that.
Yeah, I think you might have told me that one.
Well, the thing was, it was the same at the audition. I went in there thinking, well, I know everything about records, so I'll be okay. But the people on me also knew everything about records, so you had to be a bit different and send it up a little bit, But it was great meeting all the stars because, I mean, Thank You Lucky Stars, it was full of people who were in the hit parade.
Yeah. So at that point, you weren't a singer because we've got to talk about, your band, Billy Butler and the Tuxedos.
Yeah, but basically that happened because a couple of friends of mine were in a band, and I'd sang with the Mersey Beats as their guest vocalist for quite a while.
Tony loves that, doesn't he? Now,
No, Tony and Billy don't like that. But I sang with them quite a few times at Blair Hall and Hollyoak and Maureen Golson's and stuff like that. And I enjoyed that. And I knew a couple of guys who had a band. So I was, because at that time, because of being on the telly, it was Billy Spinner Disc Butler.
Of course it was.
And so we formed a band rehearsing in our house. And I wasn't happy with the bass guitarist and the lead guitarist, so I got two of my friends in, and we changed the name from the Hangmen, then to the Cherry Pickers, and then to the Tuxedos. And we used to do every other Friday at the hotel opposite the stadium.
Right, okay.
The pub opposite the stadium. And I took it really seriously because we do 2 half-hour spots, and I do the first half-hour spot, then go downstairs to the toilets and get changed and put a different outfit on for the second spot.
Well, that's just, you were clearly born for showbiz.
Thank you very much.
You did headline, this is a great one, you did headline the Cavern just the once, I believe.
We did it about 7 times, but on this unique Friday night, we actually headlined.
Congratulations.
And I've still got the bill for that week. You know, they are top of the bill Friday night, Billy Butler and Tuxedos. And it was that night that we set up a new attendance record at the Cavern.
Yeah, go on.
You leave it at that if you want.
Yeah, there was no one there.
Well, there was a few people there. But fortunately, it was the same day that the Beatles came home and were on the town hall and everything. So
those 3 non-Beatle fans in the city were at your gig?
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, that, isn't it?
And there were 4 groups on with us, so it was a good lineup.
But you did headline the Cavern. It was
we
a Friday
did,
night.
and we got proof of it, as I said.
So you get involved with the Cavern. I mean, I think from 64 to 70, I think you were a Cavern DJ from that. So you're going to the Cavern as a punter, and you're getting, and then you said before you didn't know Bob initially, but it doesn't. It sounds like you were a confident young man, Bill. And you were making. They call it networking now, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't say that. I just like music. It was as simple as that.
You're just in the right place and the right like-minded
exactly,
people.
Yeah. And as I say, it was because I also played football. So I played football for the Merseyside 11 as well, or the Cavern Kickers, as they were known it sometimes as
Wasn't
well.
Rory?
Rory was the captain. Rory was the captain. They had strict rules. He must lead the team out onto the field. He must take all the penalties. He must take the throw-ins. And I remember once there was a penalty and Sam Leach stood up and took it and missed it, and Rory never picked him again.
That's terrible. That Rory Storm, absolute legend.
So I was playing football, I think it was at Long Lane and Aintree. Quite a few of the Merseyside bands were involved in the team. I think Billy Kinsey was playing, Wayne Bickerton was playing, Al Preston was playing. I think Kerry Johnson was in goal. And I came off at half-time, and Bob Wool was commentating on the show.
The fact that he was commentating on a footy game.
On a footy game. And when I came off, he said to me, Billy said, I'm sure you know more about football than I do. Would you like to commentate on the second half? I said, yeah, okay, Bob. So I commentated on the second half. Then when the second half finished, this will be late 63, early 64, Bob said to me, young man, he said, you are at one with the microphone. He said, no, I'm looking for a bit of help at the Cavern. He said, would you like to come down and do a session and see whether you enjoy it? So I went down and did a session, and I didn't know at the time that there was a Caroline disc jockey, I've forgotten his name now. He was also doing an interview for them. So I did it the once, and then the next week Bob said to me, right, would you like to start doing 5 lunchtime sessions?
Right, okay.
And evening sessions and the odd all-night session? I said, yes, certainly.
And were you still working at this point?
I was still working right through till to 7 years after that, actually.
So how did you manage to do that?
Well, I used to do the Cavern lunchtime sessions, and I tell the boss that they were recorded.
Right, okay.
Oh, no, the Cavern lunchtime was okay, sorry. This is when I was on the radio. The Cavern lunchtime sessions were fine, because I go down and do 12 to 1. Then the band would go on. I go back to the office in India Buildings, get me work for the afternoon, go back to the Cavern, finish, and then go down the docks and do my job.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah. And I used to get 3 guineas. There were guineas in them. They just about then, I think. I used to get £3 anyway for each show I did, and £5 for an all-night session, which was great because I wasn't getting much more than that at work.
No, and are you still doing the band, or is the band gone at this point?
Well, the band, we still had 3 outstanding bookings to do at the Cavern, so I combined the 2 of them. We never had a big farewell gig or anything like that. I don't think that would have meant anything.
No, he would have topped the numbers in the July one on that one. It's funny, isn't it? People talk, we're in the Cavern today, and it's talk about the heyday, and we know that heyday in lots of ways was that 2.5 year period where the Beatles played 292 times. We know that. But I actually, because we're in the thick of what the Cavern is today, I'd say the heyday is now in terms of the business, because the city's, it's a whole different thing, which is built on that everything is built on that 2.5 year period, of which you're there and you're in the thick of it. But you start DJing after the Beatles have gone.
Yeah.
So were you there when the Hollies? Because the Hollies pretty much took over, didn't they? From
I probably was, actually, because they still have big name bands on, even though the Beatles weren't doing it.
Of course.
They still have big name bands on. And just let me paint a picture. The way it used to be, the band room wasn't much bigger than this room.
Oh, this is
huge. It's just a small room, and of course all the groups had to get all the gear in. And there wasn't a turntable at that time on stage. It was just a little booth with a Vortexian amplifier and the turntable, that's all it was, and Bob Wooler's box of records.
Played from the band room.
And I used to use Bob's records until I started building up my own collection and bringing them into play, with Bob's okay, of course, What's this record you're playing, young man? And and he christened me Mr. Platter Patter on Bill's.
He christened everyone something, didn't he?
He did, he had a name for everybody. So that's how it was, and I learned from Bob about how to balance it, how to do the timetable, what group goes on first, what group goes on second, what group goes on last, go on and take them off, work out when Bob was going to be there and when he's going to be in the White Star, and balance it like that, and make sure I was always in the band room in case Ray McFall came in, because if you found the band room empty, he used to get very annoyed about it.
What was Ray like? I mean, Ray McFall was the owner.
He wasn't as approachable as Bob.
No.
Because he was more, I don't know, we never looked at him at the same way we looked at Bob. We looked at Bob as a part of the music. We didn't really regarded Ray as part of the Cavern management rather than part of the Cavern scene, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. But I can understand that. To get it to the next bit of the Cavern story, it closed in early 66.
Yeah.
What was that decline? Just the fact that because you were still attracting the big names.
I think the problem was we were still opening 4 or 5 nights a week. Yeah. I think that was the mistake. Unfortunately, the impetus and the appeal wasn't there as much. Even though whenever we did something separately, like Bob would put shows on at the Tower Ballroom, we put shows on at the Tower, at the Grafton, and they'd all sell out. And I don't know what it was, because we still had some great acts coming on there. We had groups like The Action and, people like that, and the odd occasional big name like the Small Faces and people like that. But it was just, I think one of the big facts was that people started going to clubs where they sold alcohol.
Yeah, well,
I think that had a lot to do with it. We didn't sell alcohol.
No, a lot of people would be surprised by that, because I think it was 67 before the Cavern got an alcohol license.
Yeah, it was when Alf Gagan and Joe Davey took over. And don't forget, before that, we'd also extended the Cavern. So I don't think that helped, because we made the Cavern bigger than it had been before. Was
that still in Ray McFall's era? Okay. Yeah. And then there was other things, wasn't there? There was the addition of Cavern Sound, the recording studio. Yeah,
but that didn't take off at all.
No, that's what I mean. Presumably it's a drain on resources.
Yeah, I think it was completely divorced from the Cavern. Okay. I think Peter and Nigel ran that as a separate entity. And there's the fact that Radio Luxembourg moved in as well, and we did the Luxembourg shows there, and they weren't as popular as we would have hoped, because it was such stopping and starting with it being recorded for Luxembourg. Yeah. We do a segment, then they'd stop it and we'd start again, and that. So that wasn't as big as we'd expected it to be. And of course, Luxembourg, they were behind us as well. They were plugging us, but it didn't seem to help as much as it should have done.
It's funny because obviously, in my role as a director of the company now, and especially when it was our 60th anniversary, you got at any anniversary, you start looking at what's gone before you and putting it into some sort of story. you look back at that period and you think, yeah, all the because it was the famous footage, the best footage from that period was a Luxembourg night, or was it? No, it wasn't. It was the French TV.
French TV,
with
yeah.
Petula Clark.
That's right. Got Manfred Mann
and Gene Vincent.
Yeah.
And this amazing footage. So you look at it and you think the club's still rocking.
When it went live to Paris, that was a live show.
Yeah.
That went live to Paris.
Yeah.
Paddy Delaney features prominently in it.
Absolutely.
Showing Petula Clark through the crowd.
Yeah, Paddy Delaney, former infamous bouncer at the. Don't call them bouncers now; they're doormen.
Doorman, exactly.
But he was a bouncer, wasn't he? Who were the real characters? I mean, obviously, we know Bob Wooler. Bob Wooler was the, Mr. Cavern.
Yeah.
Who were the other big characters in the bands at that time? Who were the lunatics? Because the Cavern today is full of lunatics, like any workplace.
The lead lunatic obviously was Freddie Starr.
Of course, yeah.
And apart from that, the fact that I still regard him as our greatest Liverpool comedian ever. He was a genius. So I mean, his stuff on the television that you watch now, it's just so far ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And it's just a tragedy what happened to Freddie. But he was a great singer.
Yeah.
I can remember Ray McFall borrowing him from the Cavern because he said it's just after Gene Vincent died in a plane crash, and he said my next impression is Gene Vincent. He just lay down on the floor.
That's not good. It's not going to go down well, is
well,
it?
Ray wasn't very happy because he was a stickler. Ray,
yeah, but
he couldn't swear on stage or anything like that.
Well,
and if he caught you with a beer in the band room, you'd be in trouble as well.
Yeah. Well, famously, George Harrison wasn't allowed in on the first gig because he had jeans on. That was another one from Ray. But so there's Freddie there. Who else were they?
There was Rory, of course.
Yeah, Rory should have been. We all know Rory Storm should have been a superstar, and did Rod Stewart really steal his act? But he should have. He should have been.
Rod wasn't going at the time, really.
No. But he played the Cavern Rod, didn't he? 64, 65?
Yeah, with the steam package, I think that was. Right, yeah. Yeah, I can remember him in the band room with the tightest jacket I've ever seen and the tightest pair of trousers I've ever seen. Yeah.
There's a lot of you said before Small Faces played.
Yeah, Small Faces came.
Well, that's been one of those vague ones that we've never really been able to confirm that they actually played. I think
this will have to be when the Cavern extension was
so post 66 or post
when they had a separate entrance to the Cavern down the side. Before we closed.
Okay, so this is before the closure in early 66.
I know that's it. I know that because we helped him in.
All right, okay.
And
that's the same sort of time then.
That was when What You Gonna Do About It was the first hit.
Okay, 65 then.
Yeah.
Okay, so they definitely did play.
Oh, definitely.
I don't even think we need to check this, Paul, in the corner. We need to check the Small Faces on the t-shirts if they're not. We need to get it in there because I don't think we've ever been able to confirm it. But that's the same time like little Stevie Wonder played there.
Yeah, that was a Sunday afternoon.
I think it was January 66.
Sunday afternoon, yeah. That was when we used to have a deal with the Twisted Wheel.
Right, okay.
So they do the Cavern in the afternoon and the Twisted Wheel in the night, or they do the Cavern in the night and the Twisted Wheel in the afternoon. That's how, I mean, but if you look at the contracts of some of those days, the money we got them for is laughable.
Well, they don't get much more now. Trust me. Trust me, they don't.
But there were lots of characters. Albie and the Sorrels was a band. They were on quite often. And Albie's thing was he had a different sweater on every time he was on.
Oh, he's rock and roll.
And so it's been amazing. Which sweater will Albie be wearing this time?
Well, Paul Jones, who's sitting in the corner there, likes a nice sweater. Yeah. We call that one today. He's got on his Uncle Trevor sweater from Marks and Spencer's. Yeah,
and Cy Tucker was a character with the TTs as he was in those days. They were nearly Lee Curtis. He was a great character as well. Yeah, there was lots of them about.
Yeah, of course. Again, because we're talking about Ray McFall. Ray went bankrupt. And
we were actually told we were closing before that.
Okay.
Because there was another occasion when Ray McFall got us together and said that the club is going to have to close at the weekend. This is the weekend before. And Bob McGray, who worked on the door then, taking the money, he was an accountant. And he found out exactly what the deal was. And I can't think of the exact amount of money, but I think we owed something like £300 or something like that. Right. And Bob McGray, myself, and about 4 other people put enough money together for Ray McFall to pay the bill, which at that time was the one that was going to close us.
Yeah.
So we paid him that money. And about a week later, we had Rufus Thomas on and two other big American acts on who we got very cheap. And we got the money back off him then because of the toll takings for that. But they were supposed to close earlier, as I said, but we managed to make up what seems like a small amount, but it wasn't then.
Yeah,
it was about 300 quid. And about 6 of us put together, gave Ray the money, he paid the bill, we stayed open. We got Rufus Thomas and 2 other bands to come down and play a session for us to get more money. And so there was that. So when the second time Ray told us, we thought it'd be another false alarm.
Yeah.
But no, he said, that's it. I think he told us on the Saturday, we closed on the Sunday. I think he told us on the Saturday. And on the Sunday, when I came in to do the show, he confirmed this is the last session. You can announce it's the last session. I was DJing, and my partner at the time, Chris Wharton, a business partner, we went to the Peppermint Lounge, the Blue Angel, and one or 2 other clubs, and told them the Cavern's shutting tonight.
Right. If
If you want to come for the last time, get down tonight. So we got that happened, and then the groups who were on, we said, you fancy staying all night? And the Hideaways were there, and 1 or 2 others as well. And we got together and started putting chairs up and down the way in at the Cavern. And that was it. We stayed that way. And the police came down on the next morning, the Monday morning. The police came down. Bob had left by then. He'd got out. And the police came down. They were at the side entrance to the Cavern, because the side entrance then. I had to go back to work at 12 o'clock. To keep this pretense of the fact I was doing my job. And when I come back at 1 o'clock, they got entrance down the back, and that was that.
Well, there's some great pictures. We got him in the big book we did of all the chairs all stacked up and all. But was that at the same time? Because there's a great picture of you standing outside the Cavern with the placard.
That was when we led a march around town.
Because there was outrage, wasn't it?
Oh, of course, there was outrage.
It was a big story.
It was a massive story, of course. And we led a parade through town. We got permission off the authorities. The police were there and everything. And we led this huge march through town. And as I mentioned, we actually sang the Yardbird song, Still I'm Sad. Oh, that was sung through town. And we finished at the Cavern. They gave me a lift up. We put a wreath on top of the Cavern.
That's the footage I've seen. It's brilliant footage.
Well, the BBC News covered it, of course. So there is a full film of the procession through town and everything. And that wreath stayed on the Cavern doorway for ages and ages. You know, you'd expect it to have gone by a souvenir hunter, but it was left there. I like to think of it as a mark of respect.
Yeah.
And then we opened about 4 or 5 months later.
Yeah, it reopened in July the 10th.
Yeah. But we'd sent appeals out, to the Beatles and everybody.
Yeah, I've seen the letters.
We got nothing of anybody.
No, I think there is a Dave Jones, one of the owners, as you know, bought a lot of Bob Wooler's memorabilia.
That's right, he did. Yeah,
collection, and from that he did the book, which I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah,
and
book.
In that there is a letter, which I think it's Bob Wooler writing to the Beatles.
Yeah,
or it's the reply. It's either the one he sent or the one he got back, saying, we wish you all the best, but we can't do anything.
They tried all the American DJs as well. They tried some of them as well.
Those letters as well. Yeah, so I think Larry King maybe they got in touch with. So I mean that was, but it was huge news. But I'm very, very sad for Ray McFall and the family, because they left Liverpool, didn't they? They lost everything and moved away. Luckily, Ray did come back into the Cavern story years later, and now. I actually went to his funeral when he passed away, and that's where, as you said, one of us needs to be. It was down in Surrey. I said we should be there, and that's where we reconnected with the McFall family, and they're good friends now. And I mean, he's a huge part of the story. And he went on the when the Beatles went over to New York in 1964. He was on that trip with the Beatles.
Yeah,
and he was invited. I think he paid his way, and because there's all those amazing pictures when the Beatles get off in New York, and they're waving, and there's Ray at the back with the Russian Cossack hat on, which hopefully the Russian Cossack hat will be making its way along with his original diary.
Said to me,
I think we are going to be the family are given loaning us that and some of the stuff of Ray's just to mark that period. But Ray moves on, and then it's about 6 months.
Maybe you should have a copy of you probably got it, haven't you? The Cavern record that Bob wrote. Yeah. Sidetracked. That would look good framed as well.
Yeah, well,
Sidetracked Wooler.
I don't think we've got that one.
Cavern Sounds.
No, we haven't got that one. I'll speak to Nigel, Cavern Sounds.
I think Dave's got it, because I think I sold him it.
Okay, probably. when the Cavern closed, it was a pretty quick. But the new owners, Joe and
yeah, but it could only have been a couple of months, I think, 3 or 4 months.
But there was a lot of work needed doing, shall we say, and it was extended. There was a boutique in there. There was 2 floors.
Big boutique upstairs. Yeah, a couple of girls from Sweden used to work there.
Okay, I mean, we got all the plans when we did the anniversary.
There's a record shop downstairs. Yeah. A record shop downstairs.
So and there was of course, there was a massive opening with Harold Wilson, Ken Dodd, Bessie Braddock.
And certain DJs.
Yeah, certain DJs who we now have to cut out of that footage when we celebrate that every year. Now then. But yeah, so that was a massive opening again, wasn't it? And it was on the BBC. It was huge news. The Cavern's reopened and everything's going to go great. And did it for a while?
It did for a while, yeah. Because Bob kept up the same thing. We still had all-nighters, still had all-dayers, still had the sessions on. But I don't know what it was really, because the bands we had on were as talented as the bands who'd been on beforehand. I don't know what it was. Maybe we tried to do too many nights.
Yeah.
And the appeal wasn't there anymore, because the Merseybeat boom had virtually finished anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. But there was that clamour, wasn't there? After the Beatles went, everybody came down to Liverpool from London, all the record companies trying to buy everyone, get them deals. And there was a lot. But it's like anything, a club's audience changes. People get a bit older, they start getting married. So you've got that to deal with. Yeah.
I mean, with me working there as well, I mean, when I look through some of the old Merseybeats, and I look at the Cavern's advert in, I'd look at it and I'd know all the bands and I think, oh, what a good lineup, what a good number. But whether the people outside knew what those bands were, to pull them in. And the Merseybeat wasn't, because as I said before, the Merseybeat was a huge influence. It really was, because the Merseybeat gave us punters the chance to find out who was on the Cavern, who was on the Otto Park Ballroom.
Yeah, this is the paper, the newspaper.
The paper, the names of the fellas in the bands, the girls could follow their favourites and everything. And it was a huge influence on the scene, Merseybeat.
It still attracted bigger names, and I know Status Quo played there, I think 68.
Yeah, Zoot Money and the big band played here.
A lot of people are always still surprised to this day that Queen did possibly their first, maybe
well,
their
that surprised me as well, I must admit. I can't remember that at all.
Yeah, in 1970, Halloween 1970. And it was, we thought for many years it was the first official gig, and the Queen fan club were commemorating that. Yeah. But I think Brian May said, well, they think they might have done a little gig in the college where he was at in London. But this was the first official one, which is insane, really. And
I suppose you checked the Echo and everything, because the Cavern still advertised in the Echo.
Yeah, no, we've seen it advertised. As Queen. But the Cavern closes in 73. Well, you'd gone by then. But
I stayed there till about 71, I think.
Yeah, and then Mardi Gras and all sorts.
Because I did downstairs, because I started playing stuff like Jethro Tull and Family and things like that downstairs. Whereas upstairs, it was, I did upstairs as well now and then, because I had a couple of go-go dancers there and called the Bear Essentials. Right. And so I'd do one night upstairs, probably the weekend, doing disco with the girls.
I probably would have done disco 7 nights a week, really.
And in the week, I'd DJ downstairs with all these new sounds. And I'm sure the bands that were on then were more or less that type of thing anyway.
Yeah,
and it's only because of that when I decided to change the format at the Mardi Gras, when we went progressive at the Mardi Gras, that was only because I knew we'd had success downstairs at the Cavern with it.
Yeah, you've got to keep up with the music. Whatever club it is, whether it be a live venue or club night. And which is what the Cavern's always done, and it does to this day. That's the, and also it's always been relevant and has always promoted new artists, which I think is key, which it did then and it does today.
But you see, the advantage you've got though, John, is the name.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, which all goes back to that 2.5 year period.
Exactly.
The Beatles, there's a bigger picture there that, the Beatles in Liverpool cast such a shadow and a thing, for other musicians to ever catch up, which is why when you get to the next Merseybeat explosion, I suppose, like the 70s with the Bunnymen, and that was... it was seen as anti-Beatles. It was the new scene. We're not going to be,
Yeah, but your people like Echo and the Bunnymen and people like that, they were fed up.
Yeah.
With the fact that Liverpool was based on the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like, there's more than that here, they heralded. And he proved it as well.
Absolutely. But you know what the irony is? So the Cavern, when it closed in 73, and people can't understand this now because hindsight is a marvellous thing, there wasn't really...
No, I've always emphasised that, but whenever you get these people saying, how could they do such a thing and knocking the Cavern down? As you said, it's a great thing with hindsight, but I remember quite distinctly, there were no protests at all. No. There was nothing in the Echo, there was nothing, the place just got filled in, it never got knocked down, it got filled in, and that was that. And as I've said, we thought at the time, I'm one of them. I thought, well, it's saved its time.
Yeah.
It's made itself a part of the Liverpool legend. People will always remember it. But it didn't grieve me to be knocked down.
No, it's bizarre.
Because I thought it saved its time.
And obviously, we know it was the early 80s, wasn't it, when we lost John Lennon. And that's when really fans started coming to Liverpool to pay tribute, and that's where all the confusion about the Cavern being on the other side of the road.
Yeah,
we won't even get into that.
It is amazing though, because I mean that's when the Cavern Mecca formed as well.
Of course,
which was the first actual. Because I've got an interview with Paul McCartney in 1983, in which he was saying he can't believe how Matthew Street is not saluting the Beatles
in 1983.
Yeah.
It started with Cavern Mecca, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
but even when he did his documentary about Las Vegas, what was it called?
Not sure. Not the one when he came back to Liverpool.
No.
Give my regards.
Give my regards to Broad Street.
Yeah,
when he did that. And I interviewed him about that, and he was saying then, about I can't believe the way the Cavern isn't making use of our name.
Yeah. Well,
and he didn't. And as you said, the thing that started it off basically earlier on was the Lennon dying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which made us think, hang on, he was one of the Beatles, and
and that's what started the idea of reopening the Cavern, which became Cavern Walks, the building. And and as you said before, and this is one of the other myths, isn't it? The Cavern was knocked down. Well, it's a basement. You can't knock a basement down. You fill it in. And when they went to open it, it wasn't structurally sound. It was like a water well. You've seen those pictures, haven't you, of David Backhouse, the architect, in a boat. So it was rebuilt, and they had to do it on a different configuration, but still occupying the same 70% maybe of the original
But it didn't
footprint.
take off.
No, because
when they reopened it didn't take off.
And you know what I mean? And the thing is, it was because it wasn't a rock and roll venue, was it?
No, it didn't have an image at all.
No.
Because, I mean, it couldn't go back to the old image because those days are gone.
Yeah, because things have got to move on.
They weren't, I'd like to see, actually, a list of some of the bands that were on at that time as well, to see what direction we were heading in.
I think I've seen it when I've looked at it, and it was a mixture of trying to go back to Mersey Beat, and it was all over the place.
Yeah.
But it changed hands from many, many times before we, as a company, got it in 1991. With a vision to get it back to what it should be, which is a proper rock and roll music venue and a tourist attraction. But that took us years, because I always say that I think the Cavern today and what we do and what we're able to do and the offering, which is in good hands, but it's in tandem with what we've done as a city. It really is. It's the city.
Yeah, we've moved on as a city as well,
and we've got the audience in which to...
And we've learned how to salute our heroes, which I think they didn't know how to before the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when we did the statues down at the pier here, the Beatles statues, which we commissioned and paid for and donated to the city. And to be fair, it was the owners of the Cavern, Bill, Dave, George, Julia. They wanted as sort of their legacy in the city to do that, and we were so impressed with the small models when we saw them. But we unveiled that deliberately on the 5th of December 2015, which was 50 years since the Beatles' last ever gig at the Empire. And it's called the Legacy Statue, because for years and years and years, it was always like, what did the Romans do for... What did the Beatles ever do for Liverpool?
I know.
Well,
it's astounding.
And at the same day, we unveil those statues, the Legacy Statue. And it's if anyone's not seen it, it's become that, and the Liver building has now epitomised Liverpool as in one picture, but it's them facing out to across the Atlantic to go and conquer the world. The legacy statue.
I know. I mean, I often ask any American guests I interview on the show, does Liverpool still mean anything in America? And they always say, yeah, oh yeah. If you mention you're from Liverpool, you've got attention straight away.
So I mean, we could talk forever, but I didn't know. I actually did research on you.
I know you said that.
Even
like all good interviewers should, John.
Even though I've known you for some years now, I've got to say I was in my thorough.
Amongst my many television appearances, stands out.
Many television appearances.
Not facts, not the Fun Factory.
No.
Not Billy Butler Presents.
No. None of that. When I saw that you did the two series of Chuckle Vision.
Yep.
How the hell did I mean, I love the Chuckle Brothers. It's just like the Chuckle Brothers are just insane. But how did you get that gig?
Well, I'd been on television, I think it was the Fun Factory, or it might have been Mersey Pirates, and they were doing the Chuckle Brothers, and in those two series, we never met them.
Oh, really?
No, because I was a storyteller.
Yeah. Okay.
In it. So in part one, I'd tell the beginning of a story. Then in part two, I'd tell the rest of the story.
Right.
You see, and I was in different guises. I was a punk rocker in one of them. I was a pirate in another one. And I remember once we started off by doing it over this side in Sefton Park in the caves.
All right.
And we had to do the second. I was a witch in this story, and in the second half we had to do it in the caves in New Brighton, and in between the caves in Liverpool and the caves in New Brighton, I forgot the voice I was using for the witch, so we had to play it back then, so I'd know what voice to use over there.
What ridiculous voice!
Exactly, yeah. And I did quite a few of them. We did, as I said, did two series. Never met them.
No, I'm gutted you never met them. That's terrible. Reminds me of my TV highlight when I was an actor, and it was not my highlight. It was actually the last job I ever did was in Hollyoaks, playing this lunatic taxi driver who drove around picking people up in his undies. Anyway, there you go. That was my.
That was quite a big pair of undies.
A massive pair of undies. Yeah. So yeah, we've got to talk briefly about really radio career. So you're still with radio very much now with Liverpool Live. But you've had a great career with Radio City and Radio Merseyside in Liverpool, and you sort of started with Merseyside and sort of flitted between the two quite a lot.
Merseyside, I was DJing at the Mardi Gras, and Tony Wolfe came in. He was the head producer at Radio Merseyside, and he said to me, "Kenny Everett's just gone on holiday," because he was doing Saturday mornings. And we're not happy with the guy we've got. Would you like to come in and do the next 3 weeks? 4 weeks. So I said, yeah, Saturday morning, 8:30 till 11:30. So I did 8:30 till 11:30 for them 4 weeks. And apparently I got more response in the mail than anybody else he'd had before. Right. Even though the upper echelons of Merseyside didn't like me, they thought I was too common.
Yeah, but it's BBC, wasn't it? I mean, it took years for that to...
Yeah, they thought it was too common. So they offered me a Monday and a Wednesday in the week. So I do Monday, Vince Tracy would do Tuesday, I do Wednesday, I forget the guy who did Thursday, and I do Friday. And that was in 1971. I started there, 1971, October 1971. And I did that for a while. And then Radio City came in 1978, I think it was. And they asked me to go over to them.
I mean, I always thought Radio City wasn't rock and roll, but it was independent, wasn't it?
It was totally different.
Yeah, so it was like going from the BBC to ITV.
Exactly, yeah.
And a lot more freedom, I would have thought.
So they asked me to go over there, but they wouldn't tell me in what capacity they wanted me. All they said, we want you to join us. And I said, what programme do you want me to do? And they said, well, we fixed it up when you come over. And I was very suspicious of the management at Radio City at the time. Mm. So in the end, I went upstairs to see the boss, and I said, listen, this will be 1978. No, I left at 78. This will be about when City started, whenever it was. And I said to the boss upstairs, I said, listen, Radio City have come for me. They've offered me this. If you can guarantee, because I was still working, I was still doing my day job.
Doing that.
Even though I was on radio 3 mornings a week, I was still doing my day job. I told them at American Express that I was recording it all. So I couldn't mention weather or things like that.
That's
you know
outrageous.
what I mean? And
Typical Scouser.
yeah.
From
So
Wales.
I said to the boss upstairs, if you can guarantee me 5 mornings a week and pay me enough so I can pack my day job in, get out of all his anxiety, I'll stay with you. So he said, right, we did. And then it was later on in 78 when City came for me again. I thought at the time I'd done all I could at Radio Merseyside. And Radio City did interest me because they were doing lots of outside broadcasts and putting concerts on and things like that. So I thought, well, this will be good, you know. So I moved over to them.
We connect you now, I think, more so. Well, certainly, it depends who you're talking to in Liverpool, doesn't it? The generation of... You sort of... Like, I was talking to Paul, who's in the corner with his headphones on there, and he said, you've got to talk about Hold Your Plums. I said, well, not really getting Billy on to talk about Hold Your Plums. Yeah. But that's what Paul remembers, you know.
And that's what everybody remembers.
It's just Hold Your Plums.
Everybody. And the age groups that you remember it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It really is, you know. I mean, I am taken aback so much the number of people who do. And in a way, I don't think I should say this, in a way I'm a bit hurt. Because my morning show was pulling them in like mad on Merseyside. Yeah. And I did some great things on my morning show, but nobody talks about them. And that was 5 days a week.
But that's the same as an actor who has one role. It's like, you know, might have played Doctor Who or whatever. You're always going to be known for that. What I know you for now, and I've got to say this, is, and you've done this for right the way through your career, is championing local music and new artists. And you've been very kind to me in the last 12 months. I brought an album out. You played my stuff. You messaged me. I was away for the weekend. I think I'd taken my daughter back to Durham Uni. And I was in a hotel and he said, I'm just about to play one of your songs. So I tuned. Oh, great, because it's still that thrill of hearing your song on a radio. So I tuned in and you played one of my tracks. And, you know, when you got that last hour in the room when you've had your brekkie, and you're thinking, well, checkout's 11. I'm not leaving till 11. Yeah. So you're just having a little slop. And I listened to the rest of your show, and it was Liverpool artist after Liverpool. The Farm's new single was on there, and you were playing this amazing music. And I mean, I know what a big music fan you are, but such a fan of the artists that have come out of Liverpool and continue. And that's a huge part of presumably why you get up in the morning. Yeah,
and also, we mustn't forget that I was lucky enough between 81 and 95 to be working with some great managers at Radio Merseyside. So don't forget, during that period, I was putting on shows at the Empire, I was putting on shows at the Philharmonic, I was putting on shows at Southport Theatre, we were issuing CDs. Yeah, we were issuing albums.
This is before we even talk about the Butlins weekenders.
Exactly, the Pontins weekenders.
Pontins.
58 of them. We were doing all of that, which is why Merseyside figures were so immense. We really were a local radio station.
So we're asking all of our guests, and I sent you this message.
I hate that. I hate that. What's your favourite?
No, but
hang on, I've only been listening to stuff for 70 years.
So we're from this Cavern Podcast Series 1. We're starting a Cavern Podcast Spotify playlist. Yeah. Every guest has got to choose their 3 favourite songs by Liverpool Merseyside artists. I mean, how did you, it's not a great question to ask you, is it really?
No. Well, the only way I could do it was by not thinking about it. If I started going through all the Liverpool acts and you and all this, that, and the other, you know,
you would have postponed this for about 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the ones I picked, of course, the Cavern was heavily connected with it.
Yeah,
the Up and Running.
Well, they're all. I mean, the 2 of them have got really strong Cavern connections. I mean, the first one I've got it on a list here.
Well, they all have actually. Yeah, they've all got strong Cavern connections.
The third one I didn't know that, which we'll get onto. And I presume these are in no particular order.
No particular order.
So Farris Flamingos, and I didn't know this until he sent it over, and I as I listened to it, a track called "See If She Cares" from 1963, which was the B-side to "Do You Love Me?"
Yeah,
and we were talking before. It was they were pushing for it to be the A-side because Do You Love Me had been, they'd been almost stolen from Farron.
Yeah. The story is that Farron did a show with Brian Poole and the Tremolos, and part of Farron's stage act was Do You Love Me? They did one or two Motown numbers, actually. But that was one of the big numbers, Do You Love Me? The way Farron pranced about, because as you know, Bob christened him the panda-footed Prince of Prance.
Yeah.
He was never keeping
Don't think you get away with that now, would you?
And so they did Do You Love Me? Brian Poole and Tremolos were so impressed with the number, they asked Farron who did it, and he mentioned it was the Contours, and Brian said, he said, being a nice guy, he said to Brian Poole, I'll write the words out for you. So he wrote the words out for Brian Poole. They went to Decca and recorded it.
Big mistake.
And got to number one.
Big mistake. It's a great track, and which is it's good because I mean you know so far the list is looking good because everyone's got their own different choices.
Yeah.
The second one, massive Cavern connections. Liverpool Legends, Up and Running, formerly Two's a Crowd. Before that, Phil Jones, of course, Afraid of Mice. So you know another one. We're talking about Rory before Phil Jones, someone else who should have been massive.
Yeah.
Produced by Tony Visconti.
But this one's got a Cavern connection also because, I mean, the Cavern were connected with
They managed
the
to
band. They managed them. And this wasn't the track the Cavern were plugging.
Well, it was Johnny and Marie.
They were plugging Johnny and Marie.
Yeah.
But when I got the EP, I loved Boom. I thought it was incredible. And I played it to death. So in the end, the Cavern had to change it to start plugging Boom.
Yeah, well,
and they put it out as a single.
It's a great track. I mean, they did something for us the other week.
And it's a great track, which they did brilliantly live.
Yeah. So that's a great choice, and it's a great song. And they actually did it the other week. We had a benefit night on, and they reformed.
That's right.
And they hadn't been together for years. And the one clip, because I couldn't make it on the night, I wasn't well. But the one clip I did see was them doing Boom. So it's still a great song. Now the third choice I'd never heard of until I googled it this morning when I came in.
Doing your research as a good...
Absolutely. So released in 1970, it's a band called Arrival from Liverpool, and I Will Survive.
Yeah. Well, that was their second hit, actually. The first hit was a song called Friends, which was a massive hit for them. But they started off courtesy of Bob Waller, because Motown was very big in Liverpool, but Bob was looking for a band who could recreate the Motown sound. And so Arrival, who had three girls and two fellas, they turned up, and Bob was pushing them as Merseyside's Motown band.
Right.
They were called the XLs.
Okay. I've heard of the XLs now, because I know that.
Well, they morphed into Arrival.
Okay. And it's a great song.
Tony Hall signed them for Decca. They had a big hit with Friends. Then they did this, what I would consider is brilliant. I Will Survive. The harmonies on it are brilliant.
No, the harmonies are outstanding. So every day is a school day. So that's two new songs that Mr. Butler has introduced me to, and hopefully everybody else. So you're very much. We'll wrap things up in a minute because I know Leslie, your lovely wife, has been. You've had a busy day. You've had your scouse. You've taken some scouse home as a little takeaway. Leslie's done a bit of shopping. So we'll wrap things up. But I'd like to thank you for coming down here. And
my pleasure. You've always been good. But when I've asked you to come on my show, you've always said okay.
You are a huge part of the Liverpool music scene. A huge legend, which we've cleared up that you are officially from Liverpool, even though born in Anglesey. But there's an excuse, a good excuse. There was a war.
There's a war on.
There was a war going on. You can have that. Thanks for coming in, Bill.
Pleasure, John. You know
take
that.
Care. Cheers, mate. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cavern Podcast, and we hope you enjoyed it. Remember, we can't do this without you, the audience. So please like, share, and subscribe from wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, get involved on our socials and tell us your Cavern stories. See you next time on the Cavern Podcast.